for me, like understanding your customer is really important. So if I ask a question and it gave me any indication that you haven't spoken to your customer to come to this conclusion, that's actually the biggest red flag to me.
Operators as angel investors. Why should operators be on your cap table? Why do operators make good angel investors? What value can they add? For operators, what should they be looking for? How do they find the right founders? How can you build good relationships between operators, angel investors, and founders? And so much more. To help us answer this, we have Pamela Hsieh, who's a 9-time angel investor and spent over a decade at Alipay and Alibaba, leading the efforts to expand into Europe, who's got a huge amount of operating experience, and she's learned so much about angel investing in such a short amount of time. You're going to enjoy this episode. I'm Amma from the Bay HQ, and this podcast is powered by HSBC Innovation Banking. So, Pamela, great to have you on today. And we're talking all about angel investing and coming from an operator background. What actually is an angel investor? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand this.
Angel investing, I think in a sense, is to put your money in startups that you believe in. And compared to other like investors, I think angel tends to put more personal efforts to build a relationship with the startups and try to help them scale to being able to raise from other VCs. So more involvement, not just on the money side, but also to advise them how to scale.
So coming from an operator background and getting into angel investing, there's going to be some operators listening right now thinking about doing this. And there's also going to be some founders that are thinking about, should I have operators on my cap table? And why should I get operators as my angel investors? So why is it a good idea for operators to angel invest and for founders to take that cash and take them on board?
Yeah. So I think the advantage of having an operator is that they actually have scaling the business themselves and that they know how to grow it. Just be on top of money. They could actually advise you on go-to-market strategy. So for example, when I joined Alibaba in 2009, I worked with the company for 10 years and then brought the brand to European markets and scaled it to become where it is today. So I think that's an experience which you probably can't get from other investors. So having an operator on board in your specific area or industries, I think that's quite crucial.
You obviously started angel investing the last couple of years and they've learned so much in that period. What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned in the last couple of years that you wish you knew when you started angel investing?
So if it's an advice for prospect, like potential angel investors, I think I actually didn't know this back then, but this is super important. So it's a power law, right? It's the same as how VC wins. You have to invest in enough quantity of startups in order to have one or two to hit the home run. So it's a power law. And the minimum number of startups you need to put the money in is 20. So that's something I didn't know back then, which is ridiculous. So have a think on how you want to allocate your assets in terms of investment, like how much of it should be on some less risky assets like properties, how much should it be on stocks, for example, and how much should it be on angel investing, and have that portion divided by 20. That's the ticket size you have to invest in the startups.
And so you're obviously picking different companies to invest in, right? And from your experience from Alibaba and all the things you've done, how do you pick which leaders to invest in? What makes someone stand out as a leader to you that you think is worth putting your money down?
I'm a very numbers-driven person. So the first thing I always look at is the traction they have built. So yeah, whether that's MRR, ARR, or even number of users, I try to find any indication on it has some product market fit. If it's very early stage, I've come across a founder who actually interviewed their potential customers. So it's an insurtech company. It's very new. It's not even in the market yet, but she actually had an MVP and she went to 100 potential customers one by one. She collected all the feedback, putting in an Excel file and showed to all the investors. That's super convincing. So the first thing I look at is traction and also the speed, how fast you reach, it takes to reach that milestone. That's actually what really stands out for me. There are other ones. So for example, what's your motivation? It's a very tough journey, like for anyone, right? So we need to know why you want to set this up, why you want to go through this super difficult journey. Like you might have to sacrifice the time with your family, with your friends. So I need to know why. And also, I would look at if you have any unfair advantage. So maybe you already worked in the same industry before, you know it inside out, or you may have, I don't know, a family business in the same sector. So I came across a founder and I actually put the money in them. They actually built the same product for their previous company, which is a very big enterprise company. For some reason, that the project didn't get approved in the end, but they already had the markup. They decided to quit the company and also to launch their own business. So they know who are the clients, what do they really want from this product. They know how to reach out to them. So that's some kind of unfair advantage that I value a lot.
And what's the effective strategies for entrepreneurs once you've talked to them? Do they maintain a relationship, right? How? Because lots of people will pitch and they'll talk to so many different investors, but they struggle to actually maintain those relationships or they don't do it effectively. What advice do you have for founders there where they're talking to investors and they want to keep them strong and warm in the future?
It's a relationship building process. Same as, when you meet a friend, you might, really click on with the friend, in the first meetup. You might not, but it's okay. I believe you should just keep the potential investor in the loop. I have this example. I met this founder in one event. It was still very early stage in in his startup journey. I didn't pay too much attention, but I agreed for him to add me to his investor update email. I received this update every month. I have to say this is super persistent. I'm in like many companies email update. Some of them they do once a quarter, they forgot about it. I never see them anymore. But this founder is super persistent. I always get updates from him. And one day I saw that they reached more than 1 million GMV. Then that's something. And then that actually drew my attention. And I started to talk to the founder and I try to understand more in terms of what they do. So I think, don't give up. Try to continue the conversation with them and show them that you can make it with actually real figures to share.
So does this founder's name begin with P?
Yes.
I think I know who you're talking about.
If you're listening.
Yeah. So you mentioned there about the numbers. I think one of the things I struggle with sometimes, and I see this quite a lot, is that lots of founders will focus their decks and their focus of credibility around awards or things like that, which I'd love to hear your opinion on that, where a lot of founders will nominate themselves for awards or they try really hard to get this kind of press attention or attention on those kind of awards side of things. How much do you pay attention to that versus, like you said, the numbers? Because I always think about, from my own perspective, is I don't really care about the award. I care about what did you do to earn that award. If you can tell me I did this which earned the award, that's amazing. But if it's you just nominated yourself and there's no other competition, it's not so impressive. So how important is that, do you think? Does awards and does talks and things like that, does that help your perception?
I would say it depends on the nature of the award as well. So as you mentioned, there are so many awards out there. So I would actually look at who is the organizer for to grant that award. But as you said, I totally agree, right? It's not just about the award. That's kind of the icing on the cake. So I still would, again, I look at the numbers. I always ask for the access to data room and try to check the P&L. What's their monetization model? How are they planning to distribute their investment? Use their money to achieve what they needed to achieve. How they allocate their money, where do they spend their money on? and also their projection on, where they see the biggest growth. So that's super important to me, more than the award that they have got.
We hope you're enjoying the episode so far. We just want to give a quick shout out to our headline partners, HSBC Innovation Banking. One of the biggest challenges for so many startups is finding the right bank to support them. Because you might start off and try to use a traditional bank, but they don't understand what you're doing. You're just talking to an AI assistant, or you're talking to somebody who doesn't really understand what it is you're even trying to do. HSBC have got the team they've built out over years to make sure they understand what you're doing, they've got the deep sector expertise, and they can help connect you with the right people to make your dreams come true. So if you want to learn more, check out hsbcinnovationbanking.com. Is there anything that during this process that there's any red flags where once you hear those things that then turns you off an investment? What are the things that people should avoid saying to you if they're hoping to someday get your investment?
For me, understanding your customer is really important. So if I ask a question and it gave me any indication that you haven't spoken to your customer to come to this conclusion, that's actually the biggest red flag to me. The second is any other, reason to make me feel that you are not credible. So for example, you might have said that, oh, you have raised money from this angel, and I might know that angel. I might have, figured out that's not true, or you are just having a conversation. That's a no to me.
Yeah, I think this happens quite a lot. People don't realize that this world can sometimes be quite small.
Exactly. So everybody knows everyone.
Yeah, when someone will say to me, like, oh, I'm friends with this person, I'd love to have a chat. They'll ask that person, are you actually friends with them? And say, no, we've only met once, 3 years ago. So it's it doesn't pay to do those kind of tactics. It's always best to be honest, right? The more honest you are, then you can't get in trouble. And one interesting thing now, so obviously you've invested in a few companies. And what's the best way for people who've got angel investors already to make the best use of the operators in their network? How do they make use of the people who are angels? Is it, you mentioned about monthly updates. How have you found that? How do you find that relationship with making sure that you keep up to date and making sure you're able to help the startup as much as you can?
So I have 9 companies in my portfolio. I have to say every founder is so different. So you can see that some founders, they just don't need much help. They just know, how to run the business. There are obviously so many challenges that they have to overcome, but they know how to do it. They know where to find the resource. Some founders, I feel that they might need help, but it's in a way that they are very, very clear on the monthly update. I actually read these monthly updates. So usually it's highlights, lowlights, and asks. So, for example, one of the founders, she's super diligent. So she needs to find pilot customers, and she sent this link to the file with a list of customers she is speaking to, and she wished to speak to the company name and also the potential job titles she's trying to get in touch with. And then she would send this to all the investors and try to help her to build a connection. So it's a very easy way for me to help her if I happen to know these companies. So I think, this is a very good way to ask for help from investors.
What I always say as well is, and what I'm trying to get better at myself, is the specificity, right? So it's if you ask for something like that, where it's this is exactly what I need, it's much easier to help. Whereas when you ask for oh, I need help in this area, then because there's extra work needing to be done by the person who's going to help, often it will just get put down the to-do list, right? Whereas I think that's a big thing people need to work on, and I need to work on myself, is when I'm asking for help, it should be really specific and also be relevant, right? It's got to be a question they're asking you, which you could actually potentially help with, not just something so random that it's not really your area of expertise and it's not going to be very useful. The other thing too is you obviously invest through angel networks as well as your own money, right? So sometimes, am I right in thinking some of your investments are you personally, and then some of them are you as part of an angel syndicate? Is that right?
Yeah.
And when for a founder's perspective here, how much do you think they should be looking at approaching angel investors individually versus working really hard on trying to get a syndicate involved? What advice would you have for founders there?
If I were them, I would try to approach the syndicates because they already have the network, they have built the reputation, and then it's a community of people who share the same investment thesis, right? So there are some syndicates out there backing female founders, some back diverse founders. So it's very clear in terms of who they are looking for. So if you happen to fit in this criteria, I think it's really worth it for you to just approach these syndicates and introduce who you are and try to talk to them. I know that they might have other criteria you have to meet. For example, you might have to have secured a lead investor already, but at least you understand each syndicate's criteria by talking to them. So I would approach syndicates in the first place. But saying that, I think you should also try to talk to like super angels. But yeah, ask angels to introduce angels for you. When you speak to angels or syndicates, if they say no, ask them who else I should speak to, right? Ask them to make introductions for you. And that's how you expand your potential investor list.
So just before we go into quick fire questions, what's your personal investment thesis? You mentioned about what types of founders you're looking for. Do you have any specific niches, or like how do you come to which kind of companies you want to invest in from that perspective? Could you share more there?
When I started 2 years ago, I thought I would be investing in e-commerce, fintech, or software business based on my personal background. But what it's just, I don't know, my passion, like what my heart tells me is that I would really like to help migrant founders from underrepresented background. Maybe because I'm not a founder, but I am, one myself. I moved to this country 18 years ago. So then it's like a journey. I found that, okay, I'm super passionate about backing founders from underrepresented background. I started to talk to them. I realized I'm actually agnostic because it's all about the founder, him or herself. It's about if I believe in his vision and if I believe in he could make a success with that vision. So I'm pretty agnostic now, but my fundamental thesis is to back diverse founders.
So now moving on to quick fire questions. Who are 3 British Asians you think are doing amazing work right now and you'd love to shout them out?
Actually, the first one I would like to mention is you, Amma. So I think what you are doing is truly great. I always mention you to any other potential, like British Asian founders or even other community leads. I always mention about you, right? So yeah, thank you for contributing so much to the community. And I think it's a great thing to do. The second one, I would like to shout out Embra. She is the founder of Juniper. So actually, I mentioned about her story before. So she's the one who is super diligent, right? She's very clear in what she asks from investors, and she's going to events, try to build her pilot customers. So I think she's doing a great job. And the last one is Peony, the founder of Jude. Yeah, she, probably many of you know. So she went on Dragon's Den and she actually pushed the business to the next level. The awareness she has built around the business, I think it's something that should be talked about.
Awesome. So, well, thank you for including me in that. That's very kind of you. And if people want to find out more about you and what you're up to, where should they go to?
I think the best would be my LinkedIn profile. Is
there anything that you need help with right now that people could reach out and help you with?
I have a lot of ideas on what I would like to do next. But as me, I'm just like that. I have many ideas. So I just needed to spend some time on, exploring different options and see what I would like to do next. But right now, I'm doing some advisory roles for startups on growth strategy, digital marketing, go-to-market, etc. So if anybody needs help, feel free to reach out to me on that end.
Awesome. So thank you so much for coming on again. Have you got any final words?
No, I think it's an honor to be on this podcast, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.